Greetings, programs! Welcome back to my movie reviews. I was on vacation for a long time, so I didn't record any reviews. However, between my last review and now, I have seen movies like Logan Lucky and A Ghost Story. They are really good movies. Probably I'll talk about them someday, but for now, I want to talk about the movie I just saw, It. Now, before I go into the movie, I have some rant to say. So I seen it in this new theater. Well, technically, it's not new. It's new for me, but it's kind of an old theater. And the audience sucks. They laugh at part they shouldn't laugh. They were talking throughout the entire film. And sometimes they would just make really loud noises. I think most of you know what I'm talking about. And I was so sick of it that I tried to talk to the manager, but there's nothing he can do about it because everyone was like that. So I had a very unpleasant experience. I just want to let it out. So that's it about my rants. It's just sometimes in horror films you have to deal with this kind of crap. Hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but if you do, just to let you know that you're not alone in this scenario. Now, another thing I want to, before I delve straight into the movie, is what I define as a horror film. This year, for me, a horror film is not jump scare. Jump scare is what I call a trope. It made me jot for a few seconds, but it does not have lasting value. The greatest horror film is what they dealt with your fear, your fear and your fight against your inner demons. It's supposed to send chill to my spine, and as like many other good films, it must have rewatch value. Now this year I've seen quite a few movies. Some of them are horror, but rarely are any true horror. Get Out was a really good movie, but like I told my friends several times, I would categorize it as satirical comedy rather than a horror film itself. And Life is another quote-unquote horror film, but I really hated that movie because this movie, it was filled with tropes, and I think it's just a terrible movie as a whole. Mummy was, it does not even come near as counting itself as a horror film. It's just a pile of shit. I hate that movie. Alien Covenant was another really good underrated movie. However, that film has more to do with sci-fi rather than horror. So it missed the mark for horror, but this film, like Get Out, were still really good movies. The only true great horror film I saw this year was It Comes at Night. That movie was psychologically challenging, and it dealt with people's deepest fear and deepest inner demons, and it sends a chill in my spine every time I seen it. It Comes at Night deserves a 9 out of 10, probably a 10 out of 10 movie. I would go so far as to say this is one of the best horror film I've seen this last decade. So where does it fall? Well, it has the most amount of scare apart from It Comes at Night. But personally, I wouldn't go to say it's a definitive horror movie, because there are horror elements, but the horror elements was complementing to the story. For me, it is more like a drama rather than your average horror film, and that's what makes this movie really good. It focuses on a group of teenagers called the Losers Club in 1988 has to come together and deal with the It monster or It clown. that is where the true beauty of the film lies, is the chemistry between these young children. And the young actors was fantastic. There were some of the best performances delivered by young actors ever since Stranger Things. In fact, there's one of the actors reoccurred in from Stranger Things as well as here. You feel what they feel, and at one stage or another, you feel like what they've been through is what you have been through as well. I think the highlight was Bill and Beverly, the girl, especially in Beverly. Her arc was built up really, really good, and and she had the most horrific childhood experience out of everyone in the group, in my opinion. And to see her overcoming her demons, and to see everyone overcoming their demons and bind together, was really uplifting moment. The atmosphere of the movie was really, really retro. It doesn't feel like some kind of generic film. If you felt like you were in the 80s, the music, the culture, the way they talk was really, really good. It mostly had something to do with the script. There was a lot of humor, but it never felt forced. In fact, I could draw a lot of parallel to Stranger Things. They were equally as well written, and you feel for everyone who is involved in the movie. The special effect CGI was extremely well done. I can tell like the film crew spent no quarter, spare no expense in making this movie. Especially the special effect from Pennywise, like the teeth and some of the horror scenes that you see in the movie. They were very creepy, and there's not once that these effects took me out of the moment. Now let's talk something about Pennywise. I think Pennywise was an okay character. I don't think Pennywise was as great as everyone said, but I don't think he's the problem. I feel like Pennywise was just there, and some of his actions were really, really creepy, but it's not like Freddy Krueger or Mike Myers. Like you see their presence, and or Xenomorph, where you see their presence, and you know something, and you have that kind of horror. He doesn't have that. I think he's more like an entity that children has to overcome, rather than a villain. Rather than your traditional horror film villain. Having said that, I still like the performance from the actor who performed It Clown. I can't pronounce his name because it's Bill Ski something something. No matter how hard I try to pronounce it, I'll pronounce it wrong. I like I really enjoyed it, but however, this film has some flaws. One of the biggest flaw was the editing. It felt very rapid, especially in the beginning. It felt like there were scenes happen way too fast, and there were way too many quick cuts, which kind of aggravates me because I was keep on questioning what is going on. Please slow down a little bit. The part with the bullies, I felt like was rushed. Not until the ending that we kind of have somewhat of a closure to what happened to the bully. But throughout the film, I struggled to question why they do the things they do. It's not until the ending I was like, oh, so that's why they do the things they do. But I should care because what I meant to say is they never give the bullies a legit excuse of why they do the thing they do, and they never give us the time to sympathize with the bullies, which is part of the which in the book and in the show, they dealt with it. I think I haven't seen the show, now the book. That's what I heard. But I felt like they could spend a little bit more time on the bullies. And then again, the film was already over 2 hours, so yeah, this is a trade-off. And my biggest problem with this movie is the music. There were 37 soundtracks throughout the entire movie. 37. That's a lot of music. And I felt like the film really had a quiet moment where characters talk themselves out. The only quiet moments comes when the music stops and then suddenly there's noises. It's a little bit horror tropes, but it's, don't get me wrong, it's not as played as much as other film. And the way I see it, I don't strictly categorize it as like a horror film rather than a drama. So that's why I can forgive it. And there's certain things happen at the end credits that make me say, what? A little bit. I'm not going to spoil it, but I'm not going to take point of the credits because it is faithful to what the show or the book is following. However, I will take point with the music, and there was a lot of random 80s music throughout the film. I think they were doing something like what Stranger Things and Guardians does, but it's just very random. There was a scene where they were in one of the boys' house, and then one of them closed the door, and then they saw a poster of a Slay Boys or whatever, and then they suddenly played really loud music. It doesn't fit with the atmosphere because it was when they start investigating, and then suddenly it's plays the really cheerful music for 2 seconds, and then it cuts back, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So despite that, I still think it's a really, really good movie. It's not the greatest movie ever, but I still would highly recommend it. I would like to see it again. But at the moment, it's an 8 out of 10 for me. I might bump it up, like with Alien Covenant. First time I saw it, I give it a 7.5, and now I think it's close to 9. Probably I would want to go detail with that movie someday. So yeah, these are my thoughts on it. Thank you so much for watching my review. If you've seen it with an exclamation mark, please leave a comment what you think of it, the movie. If you like my video, please click like and subscribe, because if you think I'm good, you're pretty good too.